Luka wasn't sure if it was because Rollo didn't trust himself with it, didn't trust his sister around it, or just wanted an excuse to come hang out at Luka's more often. Whatever the reason, Luka didn't mind, but it had stayed right there where Rollo had stashed it ever since. Now, at the foot of his bed, Luka lost himself in the pages. He'd read it all before, but at this moment, it somehow felt sentimental. He was well into issue number 5 when he heard soft footsteps from the hallway. Without realizing it, Luka had pouted away the entire afternoon. He once again felt the weight of it all and allowed his weary eyes to close. Luka stood in a vast black expanse. He looked up at his father standing beside him. Walt was working a straw at the bottom of a fountain glass, trying to collect the last bits of milkshake. "Dad, where are we?" Taking a final loud gurgling sip, his father peered up from the glass. He jangled the straw playfully with a warm smile, then lifted the empty glass as if to point into the darkness. "The source." Luka's eyes followed his father's gesture. In an instant, he was sitting in front of a blazing campfire. Across from him sat a large figure in a yellow hazmat suit. The figure's voice was a scratchy echo. "Well, if it isn't the man of the hour. Make yourself comfortable." Luka held his shivering hands over the flame to warm himself. "It doesn't work that way here." Their yellow-gloved hand pointed to the base of the flame. "It's a cold flame, see?" Luka peered at the base of the fire. It wasn't wood that was burning. It was Beacon Pines itself. Tiny buildings, freezing and crumbling as they were consumed by flame. Luka could see small shadows moving in the burning city. People. Luka leapt to his feet. "We've got to help them!" The figure gave a dismissive wave of their hand. "Why waste energy helping people who can't even help themselves?" The figure bent down to examine the panicked crowd as they desperately tried to stop the flames. "They only care about what's right in front of them. Not like us." Luka's voice was a trembling whisper. "Us?" The figure slowly stood up, grabbing its helmet with both hands. With a jolt and a twist, the suit emitted a gasp. A cloud of torpid mist escaped, slowly revealing the face within. Luka's own face looked back at him. Older, worn, distant. The sensation was oddly familiar, as if he'd caught his own reflection by surprise in the mirror. The doppelganger smiled. "I tried to help once." He gestured towards his face. "And all it got me was this." Luka staggered back. "You aren't..." Luka felt a hand catch his shoulder. His father was there again, beside him. "Every choice sets us on a path. This is the end of one of your paths, son." Luka watched his older self shake its head ruefully, its face twisting into a cruel grin. "Welp, Dad, if you wanted him to see this, far be it from me to disappoint." Luka watched in shock as the figure took a confident step forward and plunged into the flames. In a flash of cold light, he was gone. What does all of this mean? Luka felt a reassuring squeeze on his shoulder. Just remember, why we choose matters just as much as what we choose. Luka woke up to see a hazy figure at the foot of his bed, silhouetted in the morning sun. Luka rubbed his eyes. The kind, concerned face of his gran came into focus. Gran silenced Luka with a gentle pat on the leg. Luka gave a reluctant nod. Luka took a deep breath. Chapter 6. Through thick and thin. Despite Luka's bitterness, Gran was right. He needed to hash things out with Rollo. A big fight changes the nature of a friendship. Whether, in the end, it is for the better or for the worse, all comes down to understanding. If one is not careful, the same familiarity that builds the strongest of bonds can become the wrecking ball that shatters them. Luka emerged from seclusion, taking in the crisp festival air. But the events of the day weren't on his mind. He had to find Rollo. Chapter 6. Through thick and thin. Despite Luka's bitterness, Gran was right. He needed to hash things out with Rollo. A big fight changes the nature of a friendship. Whether, in the end, it is for the better or for the worse, all comes down to understanding. If one is not careful, the same familiarity that builds the strongest of bonds can become the wrecking ball that shatters them. Luka emerged from seclusion, taking in the crisp festival air. But the events of the day weren't on his mind. He had to find Rollo. Roxy rolled her eyes, shaking her head. Luka looked down and kicked at the dirt. The road leading to Beacon Pines was long and uninspiring, a sort of natural barrier for the impatient. Mr. Kerr pointed to his grinning mouth. Was staring into the distance with a wistful look. Jeff turned to Luka with a furrowed brow, then gave an understanding nod. For a moment, the two now shared that same wistful gaze. Became flesh. suspiciously.
We all know Beacon Pines is a great town. What you may not know is
Kato's eyes lit with excitement. Kato straightened up and cleared his throat as if preparing to sing. Kato stared at Luka eagerly. Luka grabbed the 5 pillars of success from the shelf. Luka grabbed The Issue with Self-Help, a helpful guide. Luka grabbed 500 meals for one big pot.